Hello, my name is Ann-Barnhardt, and I've been asked to say a few words about Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin. This is being recorded on Sunday, July 17, 2011, and tomorrow, Monday, July 18th, I will be the guest on the Terry Lakin Action Fund radio show. I can't wait to meet Lieutenant Colonel Lakin, even if it is only over the phone, because he is a stalwart patriot and a true hero. The word hero gets thrown around a lot in our culture lately, but Terry Lakin is genuinely heroic and will go down in history and be remembered for centuries to come as one of the first men to stand against the Obama regime and as the Obama regime's first domestic political prisoner. All Americans owe Terry Lakin a debt of gratitude because Terry Lakin has single-handedly ensured and guaranteed that history will never be able to look back at our culture and ask, was there not a single decent American citizen willing to stand up against the Obama regime? Did these stupid fools just sit and watch their country being taken over by an obvious fraud and not one of them said a word? Terry Lakin has stood as the proxy representative of all loyal, intelligent, alert, moral Americans and ensured that our cry of recognition and distress as our republic is attacked and overthrown before our very eyes by non-state, non-uniformed enemy belligerents fronted by Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro, Barry Sobark, Harrison J. Bunnell, whatever the hell his name is, that our cry will ring out and echo throughout the long corridors of history. We're all familiar with Terry Lakin's story, but I want to briefly retell it from the usurper Obama's point of view, because I think that brings out the complete horror of Obama's truly psychopathic mental comportment. Imagine that one day after getting a great new job in a big company that required a security clearance, you received a phone call from an in-house attorney telling you that there had been an oversight in the paperwork that was supposed to have been done when you were interviewing for the job. It turns out that your identifying documents are not on file, and since your job requires a security clearance and you have been privy to classified information, this constitutes a security breach. Because a breach has occurred, the secretary of the secretary of the secretary of the employee who runs the security clearance records office in your human resources department could be fired, lose their pension, and face felony charges, which could then result in that person serving hard prison time. Yeah, that's right. This mid-level employee could be torn away from their family and thrown in prison. And this person wasn't even the person responsible for gathering your identifying documents. No, the person who is staring down prison time is the secretary of the secretary of the secretary of the person who was responsible and failed to collect your identification. But there's good news. In order to make all of this go away, and everyone keeps their job, their pension, and nobody goes to jail, all you have to do is present your birth certificate. And no rush. By the end of the week would be fine in case you need to dig it out of storage or go to the bank and retrieve it from your safe deposit box. Whatever. There's no rush. What would your reaction be if it was you who received that phone call? I know what mine would be. It would be instantaneous, 100% cooperation. You want my birth certificate? Here's my birth certificate. Is that enough? Do you want my driver's license? Here's my driver's license. How about my passport? Here's my passport. How about my concealed carry permit? Okay, got that. How about my dental molds? Do you need these? I got them. You can take them if you need them. Here's my REI membership card. What else do you need? Because that person is not going to go to prison. We're going to get this squared away right now. It isn't anything difficult, and I will do whatever is required of me to make sure that no one loses their job or, heaven forbid, goes to prison over this. This is simple. I'm certain every one of you out there watching would have a very similar response. Why is this? Well, simply put, it's because we are sane. Yeah, sane, S-A-N-E. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm dead serious. A person who would sit and watch another person lose everything and be imprisoned by refusing to produce a simple identifying document that every person in the civilized world possesses and has to produce numerous times throughout their lives is not sane. In the case of Barack Obama, we are dealing with a psychopath. It turns out that the reason Obama refused to produce a birth certificate and eventually produced what will go down in history as the single most inept, obvious, laughable forgery in history, even surpassing the McLovin fake ID, is because Barack Obama was not born in the United States and thus is an enemy usurper. And what kind of a person would you have to be in order to attempt to overthrow the United States government? Yeah, that's right. You'd have to be a stone-cold psychopath, and that's exactly what Obama is. By taking his heroic stand, by truly living out the words of his oath, Terry Lakin has revealed to all of us that we are in terrible, terrible danger. He has revealed not just Obama, but also the depth of the corruption in our government and in our military, as he was denied discovery and the ability to call witnesses who would testify directly to the facts of his case. Lieutenant Colonel Lakin also revealed the massive corruption within the so-called press, which we now know for a certainty is nothing more than a paid propaganda service whose sole function is to perpetually fillet the Obama regime. While murder trials for barflies and trailer park denzians receive endless, breathless reportage, Lieutenant Colonel Lakin's kangaroo court-martial, precipitated by the single largest fraud ever perpetrated in human history, was all but ignored. If there was any lingering doubt about the treasonous nature of the press in this country, Terry Lakin removed it. Finally, a word about Lieutenant Colonel Lakin's upcoming book, Officer's Oath. Colonel Lakin is co-writing the book with another outstanding American, Dr. Jack Cashill. Dr. Cashill is the author of Deconstructing Obama, which will go down in history as one of the most important works of literary forensics and investigative journalism ever produced, after he thoroughly and completely destroyed the myth of Obama being the author of either of his books. Obama isn't smart enough to write a lucid, grammatically correct paragraph, much less a book. If you haven't read Deconstructing Obama, you should. Colonel Lakin picked an outstanding co-author, and I'm certain that Colonel Lakin's memoir will be top-notch. Remember also that Lieutenant Colonel Lakin has been essentially financially drained and has lost his pension in his brave fight against the Obama regime. The royalties from this book will hopefully go a long way toward replacing, if not exceeding, Colonel and Mrs. Lakin's lost pension. That's why I would strongly encourage everyone out there to buy Officer's Oath and even buy it as a preferred gift, not only for your patriotic family and friends, but also for those special Obama zombies in your life. It occurred to me today that if the Obama regime is successful in collapsing our economy and the government itself, all government pensions will be lost. That's what collapse means. But Colonel Lakin, because he honored his oath and was willing to lose everything, including his freedom, will have had his government pension essentially replaced by the royalties from this book in the form of cash in hand, which he can then invest and protect. So it may just turn out that one of the only military officers to not lose his retirement nest egg will be the very man who willingly laid down and gave up his pension in service to his oath, the rule of law, his country, and the truth. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Pretty cool, huh? The Lord works in mysterious ways if we will only give him something to work with. And that is exactly what Lieutenant Colonel Lakin did. Thank you, sir. You are an inspiration and example to us all. God save the United States of America.